ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकः चक्षुरुमितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी विषभानुसुतदेवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming to read and discuss Srila Prabhupada and Krishna's instructions, and thank you in advance for taking the responsibility for applying these learnings in your respective lives. So today we will be revising Sri Isopanishad mantras number 1 up to 8, and towards the end we will read. We probably will have time to read only about one mantra's purport. We'll see how it progresses. So Nitya is going to start for mantra 1, 2, and 3.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna everyone. Seeking permission from all assembled devotees, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Parampara, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, to present Sri Aisha Upanishad mantras 1 to 3 today. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. Mantra means to deliver the mind. It is a brief sound vibration that is continuously repeated. The 19 mantras that include the invocation mantra are traditionally recited and have spiritual powers. Mantra 1. The title is Isha Vasa Principle. Sri Isa Upanishad is also called the Isha Vasa Upanishad. Translation. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set aside as his quota, and one must not accept other things knowing well to whom they belong. Everything belongs to Ishvara. He is the proprietor of everything. My proprietorship is illusory and transitory. I do not even own my body. I live as a tenant who can be evicted at any time. So one has to know his quota and live a regulated life. Humans should eat according to their quota, which is being vegetarian and not killing animals. The question then arises, plants are also having souls. So are we not killing the plants? So what is the difference if there is a soul both in animals and in plants? Trees and plants have less developed nervous systems, and hence they do not perceive the pain, but animals do. Harvesting on a farm is a festival, while animal slaughter is a terrible experience. Animals follow the laws of nature, and hence they do not incur sins. Humans, however, with higher intelligence, can recognize the soul and suffering, so they will incur sins if they're not following the laws of nature and are killing animals to satisfy the tongue's taste. How do you know your quota and achieve a balance between the material and spiritual duties? Dena taktena uchiti. Practice bhakti peacefully in a sustainable way. Do not rigidly separate the spiritual and material. Dovetail all activities in Lord Krishna's service. Live a regulated life. Do not eat too much or too little. Do not sleep too much or too little. Even for an Ashtanga yogi, regulation is important to attain perfection. Endeavor, but do not over endeavor. One formula does not apply to all. We have different varnas. Accept what is favorable for bhakti and reject what is not. Being inactive is not an option as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.47. Do not be attached to not doing your duty. Endeavor on bhakti yoga path to get the result. If an endeavor takes too much of your time, leaving no time for spirituality, recognize that that is not your quota. Do not over endeavor. Strike a balance through sadhana, scriptures, and devotional service. Live harmoniously with the Lord, not tormented or infatuated with the lack of material things. Mantra 2. Title: Living in Harmony is Beneficial. Translation: one might aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on doing work in that way, because that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma, and there is no alternative to this way for man. Acknowledge Ishvara and live according to the Ishavasa principle. There is no other intelligent way to live. Dovetail everything in the service of the Lord. Do akarma. Otherwise, ignorance leads to sinful reactions. Karma bandhana refers to bondage to material existence. The soul experiences misery as it is riveted to the body and thus becomes bound by karma. Desire to enjoy in this material world leads to bondage. So do akarma. Bhagavad Gita verses 4.16 to 4.18. When a living entity gets the chance of a human life, it is his chance to get free from the chain of the laws of karma. Pure devotional service is not reactive. In the first stage, bring God into sense gratificatory life, karmakanda. Do it in a God-conscious way. Then make progress to karma yoga, nisham karma yoga, to bhakti yoga. Spiritualized life has lasting benefits. Otherwise, living is simply in vain. An ordinary man works for his enjoyment, and when his principle is extended from the individual to include the collective society, nation, or humanity, it assumes various attractive names such as altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, and humanitarianism. These isms are certainly very attractive forms of karma bandhana. Whether a family man or following any of the paths of altruism, make all activities God-centered, the Isha Bhasha principle. The greatest danger is otherwise to glide into the evolutionary cycles of birth and death and repeated births among the 8.4 million species. Bhagavad Gita 8.5 and 8.6 highlight the law of the last thought. Remember Lord Krishna all through life to have a chance to remember him at the time of death. Even if Krishna consciousness is not completed in this life, there is a high probability that a person will in the next life take birth in a devotee family to continue spirituality. Mantra 3. The title: Living in Disharmony is Harmful. Translation: the killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. Atmahana, the killer of the soul, one who neglects the prime necessity of life, which is self-realization, and instead lives only for sense gratification. Intelligent human beings realize that this form of a human body is attained after many millions of years of transmigration of the soul, and it gives one the best opportunity for self-realization. The analogy is given here of a boat in the ocean compared to human life. The material world is compared with an ocean, and the human body to a perfectly constructed boat to cross the ocean. Spiritual master is the captain. The Vedic scriptures and Acharya are compared to the expert boatsman, and the facilities of the body to a favorable breeze, which can help the boat to move smoothly to the desired spiritual destination. If with all these facilities, a person does not fully utilize his human life for self-realization, such a person is called Atmahana, killer of the soul. He is destined to enter into the darkest region of ignorance, to suffer perpetually. A clear warning is given here. The soul cannot be killed, but is pushed into the darkest region, the lower planets, to suffer perpetually in material existence. Simply to make an attempt for God realization is to guarantee that the next birth will be in a noble family. But for those who do not make any such attempt at all, covered by illusion, too materialistic and attached to sense enjoyment, they must enter the darkest region, as confirmed in the Vedic scripture. There is also the mention of an Atma Sambandha, materialistic people who make a show of religiosity for material prosperity, and they are great only in deception. Stay humble and continue to execute devotional service. Downtake all activities in Lord Krishna's service and find a balance between material and spiritual. Thank you.
All right. Any questions, comments, realizations for Nitya?
Very nice presentation, Prabhuji. Very calm, composed, beautifully explained.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Very calmly presented. Very nice. And what I realized, Prabhuji, means all the scriptures, they are giving a very simple steps. Like, if you don't understand, you're progressing. If you're not understanding, you're not progressing. Just follow the step. What? If you're doing some work, if it is not favorable to Krishna, don't do it. And if it is favorable, then do it. So that's how we can manage, okay, what we have to do actually to go closer to Krishna.
Very good. Very good realization. Anukuli as a sankalpa, pratikuli as a varjanam. Very good. So Nitya has done a super excellent presentation. My presentation will largely be a repeat of what we just heard from Nitya. So future listeners should always try to first listen to Nitya's super excellent presentation. I will also quickly try to briefly summarize mantras 1, 2, and 3. Mantra means man means mind, and tra means that which delivers. So mantra means that which delivers the mind. So Isopanishad texts are called as mantras because you can recite these mantras. Of course, all verses in all scriptures you can recite, they can also be called mantras. So mantra number 1 obviously is a very important and a key memorization mantra. And the theme of mantra number 1 is Ishavasya principle. So mantra number 1 is Ishavasya idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena taktena bhunjita magrat kasya swiddanam. Translation is, everything animate and inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So, as I said, that mantra 1 is also called as Ishavasya principle. Ishavasya means everything belongs to Ishvara and should be used in service of the Lord. Lord is proprietor of everything. In Bhagavad Gita also it says, material energy, living entities, everything comes from Krishna. My ownership of anything in the material world is transitory. As long as I live or until the item is destroyed somehow, only till that time I have some availability to use it. Therefore, my proprietorship is illusory because I have limited or partial control. I don't even own my own body. I'm just a tenant in my body, and I can be evicted at any time. So one should be satisfied with the quota that is set aside for all of us. Humans should eat according to their quota, and the food quota for humans is vegetarian, not animal flesh. Now, some may say, well, plants and vegetables also have souls, so aren't we killing souls when we eat vegetables? So yes, there is soul in plants and vegetables also. So trees and plants have less developed nervous system compared to animals. So animals feel lot more pain, exactly like us, than what the trees feel. And further is that if we don't harvest the fruits, then the fruits dry out and fall and they go to waste. Therefore, this is the cycle created that fruits and vegetables are meant for human consumption. Now, those who run slaughterhouses, they also kill animals prematurely so that they can maximize their profit by having maximum flesh or whatever. Now, when an animal kills another animal for his food, the animals do not incur any sin for killing another animal for food because animals are strictly following the laws of nature. In human form, we generate more karma when we exhaust our karma, but humans is the only species where karma gets multiplied again. Animals, they only exhaust their karma. They do not generate new karma. So humans have intelligence, higher consciousness, and humans should recognize the authority of Supreme Personality of Godhead and pursue spirituality. Now the verse says that one should live according to one's quota. So how do you know what is my quota? How much is to be material and how much is to be spiritual? So we have to understand that we should practice bhakti in a sustainable manner. Means have regulation. It's not that one day I will sleep 2 hours to do more service and then the next day I'm sleeping 24 hours. No, this is not balance. This is not regulation. This is not sustainable. So we have to sleep regularly 6-7 hours every day. Have a balance. This is sustainable. For practicing bhakti, we don't have to rigidly separate material and spiritual because material is also usable for Krishna's service. So when we are thinking about our quota, the focus of the point is how I can peacefully practice bhakti in a sustainable manner. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, Krishna has mentioned regulation that do not eat too much, do not eat too little, do not sleep too much, do not sleep too little. So excess can be doing too much and excess can also be in terms of doing too little. Either extreme is not good. So in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 verses 16-17 where Krishna talks about these regulations, that even for Ashtanga Yogi who have renounced the world, Krishna says regulation of material life is important. then yoga practice will lead to perfection. So this is the first point, that have regulation, balance, and a sustainable manner to come to understand your quota. Second point is to determine your quota, that one formula does not apply to everyone. Rather, what we have to follow is what Archana just mentioned a few minutes ago, that anukulya se sankalpa, pratikulya se varjit. We accept what is favorable for our bhakti and we reject what is unfavorable for our bhakti. The third point to understand our quota is, does not mean we do not do anything, saying that, oh, there is a quota for me, so I will get it. No, we have discussed in Bhagavad Gita 2.47 that do not be attached to not doing your duty. Soul cannot sit idle. Scriptures say that Bhakti Yoga will lead to perfection, but Bhakti Yoga has to be perceived. Bhakti Yoga has to be performed. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the Uddhav Gita, specifically 11.20.8, the verse says, Bhakti Yoga Asya Siddhida. That you have to practice. So if endeavor takes up too much of our time in the material world and we have left with no time for spirituality, this is over endeavor in the material. And this should be a clue that this is not your quota. So Sri Isopanishad, this mantra 1 says, Tena taktina bhunjita, means quota means that which helps us to live harmoniously with the Lord. Harmoniously means we are not too infatuated with getting the material things, nor do we feel too tormented because of lack of material things that are necessary for us. So the essential message of this first section in Isopanishad, which is invocation to mantra number 3, is that we should live in harmony with Ishvara, with the Ishavasya principle. Mantra number 2, the theme of mantra number 2 is living in harmony with Ishavasya principle is beneficial. So the theme of the purport is that acknowledge Ishvara and live according to Ishavasya principle. There is no other way to live. Meaning, there is no other way to live means no other intelligent way to live. Other ways of living lead to ignorance and sinful reaction. That live harmoniously with Ishavasya principle, any other way is a way to disaster. If you live with Ishavasya principle, then there is no karmic reaction. Therefore, there will be no bondage. The term karma bandhana is described in this mantra too. Karma bandhana means bondage to material existence. Now, soul does not die, but soul experiences the misery of death due to attachment to body. To the extent I want to enjoy material things, I become bound by that karma. Desire to enjoy matter is the cause for karma. This is karma bandhana. Therefore, the solution is to do akarma to avoid bondage. Akarma means to do devotional services, means activities that do not generate good do not generate bad reaction, which we have discussed in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verses 16, 17, 18, the karma discussion. Akarma does not mean no activity. Akarma means an activity which is devotional service activity which generates no reaction. Akarma means pure devotional service. Anyone can start practicing akarma immediately. You can also try the gradual process that first begin by bringing God into sense gratificatory life. That if you want sense gratification, don't do it in an irreligious way, but do it in a God-conscious way. This is the first step of spiritual life. Sense gratification plus God is the karma kanda lifestyle. If one does not practice this first stage of spiritual life, then everything what one does will be vague. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, bring God in all activities and spiritualize all your activities this way, which will give lasting benefit. So there's no harm in becoming a family man, provided one executes his activities in relation with Isha Vasya principle, the God-centered conception of life. Prabhupada explains the greatest danger of life is the danger of gliding down again into the evolutionary cycle of birth and death among 8.4 million life species if we end up remembering something other than Krishna. If we continue Krishna consciousness, this life, it guarantees, almost guarantees, human birth in our next life so that we can continue spirituality in our next life. But if we end up remembering our pet animal, cat or dog, because of our attachment and because of lack of our steady sadhana, then we will end up going down in the evolutionary cycle, taking birth in lower species. Therefore, practice Krishna consciousness. So even though such God-centered Krishna conscious activities may be half finished, they are still good for the executor because Krishna conscious activities will almost guarantee a human form in the next life. Without God, everything is in vain. Now, mantra number 3. The theme of mantra number 3 is living in disharmony is harmful. The term Atmaha, killer of the soul, is described. Atmaha is one who neglects the prime necessity of life, means neglects self-realization, but simply lives for temporary sense gratification pleasures, thus degrades the soul. Because the soul is pushed down to lower species, lower planets, to the darkest region of ignorance to suffer perpetually. Therefore, this is Atmaha, the killer of the soul. Soul never dies, but because the soul is almost perpetually caught in the darkest region, he is almost like killing the soul. So we have to practice spirituality, and an analogy of a boat in the ocean is given compared to human life in the material world ocean. That spiritual master is the captain, Human body is the perfectly constructed boat. Vedic scriptures and acharyas are the perfect boatmen. Facilities of human body compared to a favorable breeze that helps the boat ride smoothly to the desired spiritual destination. With all these facilities, if a human being does not fully utilize his life for self-realization, he must then be considered Atmaha, killer of the soul. The last point, the term Atma Sambhavita is described, meaning materialistic or asuric people. They sometimes make a show of religion. Their aim is material prosperity or their own fame. They are not interested in purifying themselves. They are only creating deception. So we have to stay away from such people. So these are the quick points on mantras 1, 2, and 3, where the essential message of this first section from invocation up to mantra number 3 is live in harmony with the Ishavasya principle, and everything will be beneficial. And if you don't live in harmony with the Ishavasya principle, then it is harmful for you. Any questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have a question.
Yeah.
When you said bring God in all the activities, so if I'm cleaning my house, if I'm cleaning the house, and before cleaning, I should be remembering Krishna, oh Krishna, I'm cleaning the house for you. But it's normally happen, I finish the cleaning and say, oh, I cleaned the Krishna's house. So which is better, Prabhuji?
So both are appropriate. The better is to remember Krishna before doing the activity, while doing the activity, and after doing the activity. So we have discussed this in 3.30 and 8.7. So if you, in 3.30 it says, Bhagavad Gita, that you first do the activity and then offer the results to Krishna. So this is post activity, right? That you are first doing the activity and post the activity you are offering the results to Krishna. And then the progression is 8.7 is pre-action meditation. Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmaram yuddhacha mai arpita manobuddhi mam evasyashi asamshaya. That mam anusmaram yuddhacha, for Arjuna is yuddha, for us is our day-to-day activities. That remember Krishna before doing the activities and while doing the activities and after doing the activities. The result is your mind and intelligence and all your activities get offered to Krishna and you will go back home, back to Godhead. So yes, both are appropriate. It's just you have to progress from Bhagavad Gita 3.30 as the starting point to 8.7 Bhagavad Gita, which is pre-action meditation. Arjuna.
Yes, Prabhu, yeah. And one more question I have, Prabhu.
Mhm.
So the second question is, if we are meant for a vegetarian, so how this non-vegetarian got introduced to human society? And
Because,
in the forest, Prabhu, they hunt and then their food was hunting only, no?
yeah, so everything, if you read Bhagavad Gita 4.2, that because of the effect of time, everything keeps dwindling. And because of the modes, how people want to interact with the modes or enjoy which particular mode, therefore, all these sinful activities continue to happen. So somebody is interested in enjoying the mode of ignorance, so he will end up engaging in activities of the mode of ignorance, such as killing animals. So yes, originally all this was not there, but as time progresses, as one's conception of wanting to enjoy the mode of ignorance, then it becomes a vicious cycle. So we discussed this example that normally, say somebody has the intent of watching a movie. So there are normal movies and then there are horror movies. Now, not everybody likes horror movies, but somebody, he first sees a horror movie one time and he likes it. And then he is so absorbed that he only sees horror movies. Well, other people don't like to see horror movies. So the one who likes to see horror movies, he is interacting or wanting to enjoy the mode of ignorance. And similarly, this flesh eating at some point in history, somebody wanting to enjoy, started this and then it just spread, because ignorance is a vicious cycle. We have discussed in Bhagavad Gita chapter 14 that ignorance develops from ignorance. So I give the example of horror movie, and same applies for a drunkard, that a drunkard may drink once a while and he gets so addicted that then he's drinking every hour or just cannot live without drinking. So the initial act of drinking once a while is in ignorance, but that ignorance leads to a vicious cycle that the drunkard cannot live without drinking every hour or very frequently. Archana, everybody?
Yes, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, in the Satyug, Hiranyakashipu, Ravan, Duryodhan, they all were vegetarian, right?
So these are demoniac people. They will not be vegetarian. Duryodhan, I mean, we have seen or heard. Now, Ravan and Hiranyakashipu you cannot compare, because they are actually Jai Vijay and they are devotees. They are here for a specific role. So we cannot really compare them. But Duryodhan definitely purely demoniac. Definitely he was not vegetarian. Archana?
Yeah. Very good, Prabhuji. Yes. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for your inquiries. Nitya?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So when we do our activities, our family responsibilities following the Ishavasha principle, does the karma that we accumulate, is it less? I'm sure it's not a karma. It is still reactive, but is it less?
So your day-to-day activities, if you do it as a service to Krishna, then it becomes a karma. Right? So it's not a black and white answer. You have to judge whether you are doing it for Krishna's service. And there can be progression. You don't have to get disheartened. So there can be progression that, say, somebody may start by doing 10% as serving to Krishna and then gradually grow to making entire life as service to Krishna. Nitya?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Pragya?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, this again, when we are doing activities, we can think of Krishna like Archana Mataji was telling about cleaning home, that we are cleaning Krishna's home. But if we are doing our regular activities professionally, etc., so we had discussed once in our thing that if we cannot think of Krishna while doing those activities, then whatever we get from that we should submit for the service of Krishna. Does that really, are they really comparable, Prabhuji?
So you are correct. You can give the earnings or a portion of the earnings to Krishna, and that also has similar benefit that you are giving the results to Krishna. Ideal is, of course, 8.7 to remember Krishna before doing the activity, after doing the activity, and while doing the activity. Now, you can remember Krishna even with your day-to-day work. So I have given practical examples throughout our Bhagavad Gita study that, say, you are trying on a Monday morning, you are getting ready to go to work. So get up, say if you are getting up at 4:30, get up at 4:34, memorize spiritual master verse. Tadvidi paripatena, pariprashnena sevaya, upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshana. If you are waking up at 5:30, set your alarm at 5:29. Recite a verse. Bhoktaram yajna tapaso, sarvaloke maheshwaro, swatram sarvabhutanam, kyatva mam shantim rachati. Then when you are taking shower, recite a verse. Your shower becomes bhakti yoga. Say when you are leaving work around 7ish, so you have 6.47 as a key memorization verse. Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamamata. Or better is 7.1. That leave at 7.1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Sakta Mana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashaya Asamsayam Samagram Mam Yata Jnanasi Tachunu. When you are driving, look at number plates and recite and verses and discuss whosoever is with you in the car. When you reach office, say if you reach at 8 o'clock, you know the one of the important verse from chapter 8 is 8.5 to remember Krishna at the time of death. Smaran muktva kalevaram, right? Antakale chamam, smaran muktva kalevaram. You have meetings at say 9:30. Well, very important verse 9.30. Apichet suduracharo. Bhajate maam ananya bhakri. Remember and recite verse. You have meetings at 10 o'clock. Well, you have Chaturshloki. Pragya, you have yourself presented Chaturshloki and coming up also very soon with Archana. Memorize and recite Chaturshloki verses. Aham sarvasa prabhavo. Mata sarvam pravartati. Timatva bhajande ma buddha bhava samanvita. Matchitta mat kata prana. Bodhayanta parasparam. Kathayantaschamam nityam tushyanti charavanti cha. So you see, I am reciting like a parrot.
Jai Prabhuji.
How have I done this? Is because I practice this every day. Every day you spend time in your shower, you spend at least 1 hour or around that time in traffic, just memorize verses. So it is possible for your day-to-day work to remember Krishna. What this does is, and you start your morning day with your sadhana, so Krishna is there as a fence around you. Now, there may be certain specific functional activities that you are doing which are purely functional. Well, if you already spent and memorized and recite so many verses, before you start doing an actual functional activity of, say, paying an invoice or looking up a numerical number or writing a very specific functional email, well, at least Krishna will be there in your background. He's not there at all. Right? So all this is possible so that Krishna is there in the foreground or at least in the background. Pragya, everybody?
Ji Prabhuji, thank you so much. Prabhuji, one more thing, that if there is a person who is doing all this thing, but the core activity that he performs is not fair, it's unfair, say drug dealing or something bad. So does he get pardoned just because he's keeping Krishna, or just automatically he will not be doing that because he's in a Krishna conscious thought process?
So you have to change your activity, right? If you are trying to be Krishna conscious, simultaneously you cannot have sinful activities. So yes, we might have done sin in the past, not might. Yes, I have done sin in the past. But then you realize and you repent and you transform. If there is no transformation, then you are not really doing anything in Krishna consciousness. You are just doing it like a material task. The whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita is transformation. So we have discussed this in chapter 16 Bhagavad Gita verses 23 and 24. It says Shastram Vidim. According to scriptures, we should know what to do and what not to do. So our day-to-day activity should be honorable. It doesn't matter whether you are doing task A or task B or task, as long as it is honorable and you have a balance between material and spiritual duties, that's your prescribed duty. So some examples of activities which are not honorable according to scriptures is, say, stealing, or say a butcher shop or something related. So if you are doing these activities and you meet a pure devotee, you study scriptures, well, then you have to transform by stopping those activities and doing activities that are prescribed according to scriptures. Okay.
Ji Prabhuji, thank you. That helps.
Madan?
Hare Krishna. So Isavasya principle means everything belongs to the God and he's the controller. Is that what it means?
Correct. Ishavasya means everything belongs to God and everything must be used in the service of the Lord.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhu. Just wanted to share a realization. So when we begin our day with our sadhana and bhakti yoga and we pray that God's guidance is with us, I think that's also another way that He is always there, even if He's in the background.
Yeah, very good. All right, so let's now first hear from Pragya for mantras 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I seek permission from you all, from Srila Prabhupada and all gurus in the disciplic succession, and from Sri Sri Radha Krishna to talk on Sri Isopanishad mantra 4 to 8. Please forgive me for my shortcomings. The overview of Sri Isopanishad and mantra 1 to 3 we have discussed so far provided us with the basic foundation of Ishavasya Sarvam principle, that everything animate and inanimate belongs to Krishna. Since everything belongs to Ishwar, it is our responsibility to accept only our designated quota and try to dovetail our lives with Ishvara. If we live in harmony with this Ishavasya principle, it is beneficial, and living in disharmony is not. So if we have to live in harmony with Ishvara, we should know the Ishvara, isn't it? The mantras 4 and 5 of Sri Isopanishad provides us the knowledge of the Supreme Person. Mantra 4 says, Anjad ekam manaso javya nainad deva apnuvam purvam arshad tadhavato anyan atyeti tishtata tasmin apo matarishva dadhati. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place, he cannot control those who supply the air and the rain. He surpasses all in excellence. He surpasses all in excellence. We cannot perceive him, certainly not through mental speculation. The greatest philosopher also cannot know the absolute personality of Godhead. Even if the philosopher travels through the space at the speed of will or mind for hundreds of millions of years, he will still find that the absolute truth is far, far away from him. In the Bhagavad Gita 10.2, the Lord says that not even the greatest rishis and suras can know him. And if suras cannot know him, for the asuras, there is just no question of understanding the ways of Lord. Then who can understand the Lord? It is only the Lord's devotees. But here too there is a caveat. The Lord is known by his devotees only through his causeless mercy. Devotees render service to Krishna, and every soul has a unique set of characteristics and a unique relationship with Krishna. Devotional service by devotees is individual, spontaneous, and voluntary. So with this devotional service, devotees can know the Lord, but this too requires his mercy. The absolute personality of Godhead has his transcendental abode, Golok, where he remains and engages in his pastimes. Yet, he is swifter than the mind, and by his inconceivable potencies, he can simultaneously reach every part of his creative energy. The mantra 4 focuses on Ishvara's energies, which can be divided into 3 principal categories: the internal potency, Antaranga Shakti, the marginal potency, Tatastha Shakti, and the external potency, Bahyarangi Shakti. The spiritual sky, where the kingdom of God is situated, is the manifestation of his internal potency. The natural phenomena such as air, light, and rain belong to the Lord's marginal potency. The material world is the creation of Lord's external potency. Although the Lord and his energies are not different, the energies are not the supreme truth. Neither is the Lord distributed everywhere impersonally through these energies. The individual parts and parcel of the Lord's potencies have all the symptoms of the Lord himself, but they are limited as they have limited spheres of activity. So our ability to understand him is also limited, and the Upanishads warn us that we should not try to approach the Lord with our limited potency. Neither should we try to establish the identity of the Lord through mental speculation. Then how do we learn about Lord? We should try to learn of the Lord's transcendence from the Lord himself. He is the supreme source of Vedas, and he alone has full knowledge of the transcendence. As part and parcel of the complete whole, we are endowed with some particular energy to act according to Lord's will. If we forget that, we are under the influence of Maya or illusion. Sri Isopanishad warns us that to be very careful to play the part designated for us by the Lord. This does not mean that we take no initiatives on our own, but because we are part and parcel of the Lord, we must join the initiative of the Lord as well. It is only when a person properly utilizes his initiative with intelligence, understanding that everything is Lord's potency, can he revive his original consciousness, which was lost due to the association with Maya, the external energy. Thus, the Mantra 4 gives us the perfect knowledge, which is knowing the Lord in all his features, knowing his potencies, and knowing how these potencies work by his will. The mantra tells us that all our power is obtained from the Lord. Therefore, it only makes sense to utilize this power to execute the will of the Lord and not otherwise. Only with such submissive service attitude, the Lord can be known. Mantra 5. Mantra 5 is a mantra about contradictions that prove the Lord's inconceivable potencies. The mantra is very beautiful. Tad ejati, tam nej ejati, tad dure, tadva antike, tad antah asya sarvasya, tad usarvasya yasya bahyata. The mantra says that the Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. These contradictions about him are inconceivable, aren't they? But inconceivable does not mean that we cannot understand him at all. By logic, we cannot understand absolute truth. Does not mean that absolute truth is illogical. Inconceivable means that the absolute truth is beyond anything material. These descriptions are of the Supreme Lord's transcendental activities, executed by his inconceivable potencies. He walks and he does not walk. Can that be? Ordinarily, if someone can walk, we cannot say that he cannot walk. But in reference to God, it just indicates his inconceivable power. If we cannot accommodate such contradiction, it shows the limited powers of our understanding. For example, the impersonalist Mayavad philosophers accept only the Lord's impersonal activities, rejecting his personal feature. But the Bhagavatas accept him as the Supreme Lord, who has inconceivable potencies and is both personal and impersonal. He has inconceivable potencies. That is why he is the Supreme Lord. Just because we cannot see God with our eyes does not mean that the Lord has no personal existence. This mantra of Sri Isopanishad refutes this argument by saying that the Lord is far away but also very near. The abode of the Lord is far, far away from the material universe. But despite this, he can at once, within less than a second, descend before us with a speed swifter than that of the mind or wind. We discussed this in the previous mantra. Yet, when the personality of Godhead comes before us, we neglect him. He is not a mortal being, nor is his body produced of material nature. We should not place the Lord on an equal level with ordinary men. Non-believers argue that either the Lord cannot incarnate himself at all, or if he does, he descends in form of material energy. These arguments are nullified if we accept the existence of the Lord's inconceivable potencies. All energies are Lord's energies. So even if the Lord appears before us in form of material energy, he can convert this energy into spiritual energy. For example, the Lord can appear in the form of Archa Vigraha, a deity supposedly made of earth, stone, or wood. Deity forms of Lord are not idols, even though engraved from wood, stone, or other matter. Gopinath worship is not idol worship. Our material existence is imperfect, and we cannot see the Supreme Lord due to imperfect vision. Yet, for his devotees, the Lord appears in material form to accept their services. Such devotees are not worshipping an idol. They are actually worshipping the Lord, who has agreed to appear before them in an approachable way. The presence of the Lord in the Archa form can actually be felt by a sincere devotee, but not by an atheist. The Lord reserves the right not to reveal himself to anyone and everyone, but to show himself only to those souls who surrender unto him. Thus, for the surrendered soul, he is always within reach, whereas for the unsurrendered soul, he is far, far away and cannot be approached. Prabhupada gives this example of the child saint Prahlad Maharaj. When his atheist father asked him, "Where is your God?" and Prahlad replied that God resides everywhere. The father angrily asked whether his God was within one of the pillars of the palace, and the child said yes. At once the atheist king shattered the pillar in front of him to pieces, and the Lord instantly appeared as Narsimha incarnation and killed the atheist king. Lord Narsimha appeared from the pillar not by the order of the atheist king, but by the wish of his devotee Prahlad. An atheist cannot order Lord to appear, but the Lord will appear anywhere and everywhere to show mercy to his devotees. The Bhagavad Gita similarly states, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam, that the Lord appears in order to vanquish non-believers and to protect believers. Actually, he descends only to favor his devotees and not for any other purpose. Brahma Samhita 5.35 says that Govinda enters everything by his plenary portion. He enters the universe as well as all atoms of the universe. He is outside in his Virat form, and he is within everything as Antaryami. As Antaryami, he witnesses everything that is going on, and he awards us results of our actions as karma phal. So through these contradictions, Mantra 5 concludes that there is nothing but God, within and without. Everything is a manifestation of his different energies. And since all energies are his, there is oneness among his diverse energies. We shall now discuss Mantra 6 to 8 that explain how to understand the contradictions relating to Ishvara, or how to understand spirituality. So how do we understand spirituality? The process is that first we develop spiritual vision towards material things by seeing events and material people with equanimity. Second, we try to see spiritual in material. Then, third, we will be able to see spiritual as spiritual, that is, spiritual beyond material. So the mantra 6 is titled The Vision of Mahabhagavad. The mantra says, Yastu sarvani bhutani atmani iv anupashyati sarva bhuteshu cha atmanam tato na viju gupsate. He who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcel, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. This is the description of Mahabhagavad, the great personality who see everything in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are 3 stages to realize the Supreme Lord's presence. The Kanishta Adhikari is the lowest stage of realization. Such a devotee does Gopinath worship. He considers Lord to be present at the place of worship and nowhere else. After going from the temple, he can do anything and deal in any manner with others. He is generally a neophyte with weak faith and scriptural knowledge. He sees material things alone. But since he chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he is a devotee. The second stage of realization is that of Madhyam Adhikaris. These devotees know Krishna, the Supreme Lord, as the object of worship. They make friends with devotees of the Lord. They shower mercy on innocent who have no knowledge of the Lord, and they avoid atheists who have no faith in the Lord. The Madhyam Adhikaris adores the relationship with the Lord. However, he is not knowledgeable enough to clear doubts and misconceptions of others based on authorities of scriptures. But for himself, he has strong conviction. Above the Madhyam Adhikari is the Uttam Adhikari. Uttam is Ut plus Tama. Tama means darkness, and Uttama means beyond darkness. Such devotees see everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. They are free from anarthas. They are seriously engaged in Lord services. They spread Krishna consciousness. They are generally gurus or spiritual masters. They serve their gurus. Uttamadhikaris are offenseless. Uttamadhikaris do not criticize or have any inclination to criticize. Both faith and knowledge to transform ordinary people's life of Uttamadhikari are very deep. They do not discriminate between an atheist and a theist, but see everyone as part and parcel of God. Such a learned devotee is not misled by material bodies, but is attracted to the spiritual spark within them. According to the Bhagavad Gita, only one who is already on liberated platform, Brahma Bhuta, can become an Uttamadhikari. The 6th mantra talks about Anupashyati. Anu means to follow. Pashyati means to see or observe systematically. So one should observe in a systematic way. Prabhupada explains that this means that one should not see things as they appear, since our senses are imperfect, but should follow the previous acharyas. One cannot see properly unless one has heard from a superior source, and the highest source is the Vedic wisdom, which is spoken by the Lord himself. Vedic truths are coming in disciplic succession, from the Lord to Brahma, from Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyas, and from Vyas to his many disciples. Srila Vyasadeva originally compiled the Vedic wisdom. There is a complete agreement among the Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, and no one should try to reach any conclusion about the Vedas without receiving instructions from the members of the Vyasadeva's disciplic succession, who believe in personality of Godhead and his diverse energies, as they are explained in Sri Isopanishad. So we now come to Mantra 7, which talks about the consciousness of Mahabhagavata. The mantra says, Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiv adbhut vijanatah tatra ko moha kah shoka ekatvam anupashyatah. The mantra says that one who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality, one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be the illusion or anxiety for him? Ekatvam anupashyatah means we see everyone as souls. The living entities are qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord, just as the sparks of a fire are qualitatively one with the fire. Yet, Quantitatively, they are different. Sparks are not fire, as they are as far as quantity is concerned. For the quantity of heat and light present in sparks is not equal to that in fire. The Mahabhagavata, the great devotee, sees oneness in the sense that he sees everything as the energy of the Supreme Lord. Since there is no difference between the energy and the energetic, there is a sense of oneness. In this mantra, the words Ekatvam Anupashyatah indicate that one should see the unity of all living entities, Ekatvam. And how should we see it? Anupashyata, by following systematically from the viewpoint of the revealed scriptures. Prabhupada explains that the individual sparks, that includes us, of the supreme whole, that is the Lord, possess almost 80% of the known qualities of the whole, but they are not quantitatively equal to the Supreme Lord. These qualities are present in minute quantity, as the living entity is but a minute part of the supreme whole. We can understand this from the illustration that a drop of the ocean water has similarity in quality of the salt as the ocean itself, but in terms of quantity, it is minuscule. In the previous mantras, we discussed that no living being, not even the powerful demigods, can surpass the Supreme Being in any respect. Therefore, Ekatvam does not mean that a living being is equal in all respect to the Supreme Lord. However, every living being is a son of the Supreme Being. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, all living creatures throughout the universe, including birds, reptiles, ants, fishes, trees, are emanations of the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord, all belonging to the family of the Supreme Lord. The spiritual entities are meant for enjoyment, as stated in Vedanta Sutra. Anandamayo Bhashyat. By nature and constitution, every living being, including the Supreme Lord and each of his part and parcels, is meant for eternal enjoyment. However, the real center of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord. We are all meant to join him and enjoy life with a single transcendental interest. With this realization of oneness with the Lord, there can be no illusion, moha, or lamentation, shok. A godless civilization, such as that sponsored by the modern politicians, is always full of anxieties because it may be crushed at any moment. If we wish to get rid of all sorts of illusion and anxiety and create unity out of all diverse interests, we must bring God into all our activities. And we have been discussing this a while back. The Parabrahman, or the Supreme Spirit, is also a person, just as the individual entities are. So neither the Lord nor the living entities are impersonal. When devotees realize their transcendental position, they surrender to the lotus feet of the Supreme Being, Sri Krishna. But such a Mahatma is very rarely seen because such transcendental realization is achieved only after many, many births. Once the realization is attained, there is no longer any illusion or lamentation or the miseries of material existence, of birth and death. Mantra 7 teaches us this. We will now discuss Mantra 8, the last mantra, on Krishna's qualities that are known to Mahabhagavat. Since Krishna's qualities are immense, the mantra is different. We will try to recite it. I will try to recite it. Saparyagacha chukram ayakam varnanam asnaviram shuddham appavidham Kabir Manishi Paripuhu Swayam Bhur Yathat Hadyato Artham Vyadadhacha Chashvatibhya Samabhyaha. The mantra says that such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. Mantra 8 describes the eternal form of the absolute personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is not formless. He has his own transcendental form, which is not at all similar to the forms of the mundane world. He is asnaviram, without veins, means his veins, his senses, all are spiritual, not material. The living entities are embodied in a material body with skin, bones, veins, etc. In a materially conditioned life, the soul is different from the body and the subtle mind. But the Supreme Lord is different. He is unembodied, which means that there is no difference between his body and his soul. He is the Supreme Lord. He need not accept a body according to the laws of nature. He is the complete whole, and his mind, body, and he himself are all one and the same. In the Brahma Samhita 5.1, the Supreme Lord is described as Sat Chit Anand Vigraha, which means that he is the eternal form, fully representing transcendental existence, knowledge, and bliss. He does not require a separate body or mind, as we do in material existence. The Vedic literature sometimes describes the Lord as formless or nirgun. What nirgun actually means is that he has no form like ours, or a form that we can conceive. In the Brahma Samhita 5.32, it is further stated that each and every part of his body, he can do the work of other senses. The Lord can walk with his hands, accept things with his legs, see with his hands and feet, eat with his eyes, etc. In the Shruti mantra, it is also said that Lord's hands and legs are different, by which he can accept all that we offer him and run faster than anyone. The 8th mantra confirms this description by calling the Ishvara as Shukram or omnipotent, the one having total authority, ability, or skill to do everything. The Lord's worshipable form, Archavigraha, which is installed in temples by authorized acharyas who have realized the Lord in terms of Mantra 7, is no different from the original form of the Lord. By worshipping the Archavigraha, one can at once approach the Lord, who accepts the service of a devotee by his omnipotent energy. The Archavigraha of the Lord descends at the request of the acharyas, the holy teachers, and works exactly in the original way of the Lord by virtue of the Lord's omnipotence. In this mantra, it is clearly stated that Lord supplies to the living beings the objects of their desire in proportion to their qualification. Srila Prabhupada explains by an example. If a man wants to be a high court judge, he must acquire not only the necessary qualifications, but also the consent of the authority who can award the title of the high court judge. The qualifications in themselves are insufficient for one to occupy the post. It must be awarded by some superior authority. Similarly, the Lord awards enjoyment to living entities in proportion to their qualifications. But qualifications do not give the right to receive the awards. The award comes by the grace and mercy of the Lord. This mantra of Sri Isopanishad uses the very appropriate word, yatha tathyatah, indicating that the Lord rewards the living entities in pursuance of their desires. If a living being wants to go to hell, the Lord allows him to do so without interference. And if he wants to go back to home, back to Godhead, the Lord helps him. Only the Supreme Lord is self-sufficient. When Lord Krishna appeared on earth 5,000 years ago, he displayed his full manifestation through his various activities. In his childhood, he killed many powerful demons, lifted Govardhan Hill without practicing weightlifting, and danced with the gopis without reproach. The Lord is always pure and uncontaminated. Sri Isopanishad describes him as Shuddham, antiseptic. He is antiseptic in the sense that even an impure thing can become purified just by touching him. An example is given that sun rays can purify even stool. The mantra 8 describes him as apavidhyam, prophylactic. The word prophylactic refers to the power of his association that can purify anything. An example to explain this is that soap cleanses our hands, but soap does not get contaminated due to dirty hands. The Lord is also apavidhyam because sin cannot touch him. In all circumstances, he is Shuddham, the most purified. So to sum up, we are revising Sri Isopanishad. the knowledge that brings one nearer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. We covered mantras 4 and 5 in 4 to 8 in this session. In mantras 4 and 5, we learned about Krishna's nature. He is the possessor of inconceivable potencies. He's swifter than mind, all the present in his abode. He's all pervading throughout his cosmic creation. His potencies are inconceivable that material logic defies. Mantra 6 and 7 tell us that if we observe all living entities as spark of his divinity, it would eliminate hatred, illusion, and lamentation. And Mantra 8 tells us about his form. His body is purely spiritual, Sat Chit Anand Vigraha, unembodied, free from material mechanics, and capable of interacting through any senses. These mantras teach us that our goal is not to imitate the Lord, but to play the role of beggars by dovetailing our desires with the complete whole through pure devotional service. With this, I conclude my presentation. The revision exercise felt like a new, fresh, and tough journey into this beautiful scripture. And I thank Ramvilas Prabhu for this initiative to revise Sri Isopanishad and for his continuous guidance. Please forgive me for my shortcomings, weakness, and mistakes. My Dandavat Pranam to all devotees. Hare Krishna.
Any questions, comments, realizations for Pragya?
Thank you for such a detailed presentation and also for all the excellent recitation of Sanskrit.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I was supposed to say the same only. Very beautiful recitation of the Sanskrit verse and beautiful class given by Pragya Mata. Thank you so much.
Very good. Pragya has, as usual, done a super excellent presentation for mantras 4 to 8. Actually, is more detailed than what we have covered earlier. And there's no need to glorify me. All glories are always for Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. All glories are always for your dedication and your super excellent endeavors that week after week after week you are been revising so many scriptures. For almost a year we have been revising. In between we studied Canto 2, but for almost a year you all have been doing super excellent endeavors. So all glories are for your endeavors. So I will also quickly summarize mantras 4 to 8. Obviously, all listeners, past, present, future, should listen to Pragya's presentation on these mantras. My presentation is going to be very short, not as good as Pragya's, but I will attempt. So mantras 4 and 5, title is Knowledge of the Supreme Person. So if you step back, we started that if you want to live in harmony with Ishvara, the Ishavasha principle, then I should know the Ishvara. So mantras 4 to 8 explain how to know Ishvara. That Ishvara can be understood by spiritual vision. And mantras 4 and 5 describe that Ishvara is inconceivable to our normal intelligence. Ishvara's attributes are described that will seem contradictory. So mantras 4 and 5 is knowledge of the Supreme Person. Mantra 4 specifically is that Lord is known only when he reveals. No one can understand Krishna by material qualifications. Even demigods cannot understand Krishna. because unless he reveals, it is not possible. Sri Isopanishad warns us that by my mental speculation, it is not possible to know Krishna because I have imperfect senses. Mantra 4 talks about three principal energies of the Lord. First is the highest is internal potency, the Antarang Shakti, means the devotional services that we do. The internal potency is controlled by Srimati Radharani. So when we do devotional services, we are under Srimati Radharani's protection. Second is marginal potency, Tatastha Shakti, means we all jivas, we are marginal potency, Tatastha Shakti. Why we are marginal is because we can choose to either go under internal potency or we can choose to go under the third energy, which is external energy, Prakriti. So third is the external potency, Bairangi, which is Prakriti or material nature. Krishna is situated in one place and he diffuses his energies everywhere. Srila Prabhupada explains that devotional service is individual, voluntary, and spontaneous. Everyone is unique in the material world as well as everyone is unique in the spiritual world. This individuality and uniqueness is engraved in us, both materially and spiritually. So every soul has a unique set of characteristics and hence has a unique relationship with Krishna. Mantra 5, the theme is that contradictions prove Lord's inconceivable potencies. The contradictions of the Supreme Lord, one is walks but does not walk. Now, inconceivable does not mean we cannot understand him at all. By logic, we cannot understand absolute truth. Does not mean absolute truth is illogical. Rather, absolute truth is beyond anything material. Logic is also material. Second contradiction is far away but near. Paramatma is very near. Even if someone embraces you, he cannot come as close as Paramatma is. While at the same time, Supreme Personality of Godhead is very far in spiritual world, performing pastimes. Means for a surrendered soul, he is always within reach, while for unsurrendered soul, he is very far away. Third contradiction is everything, that within everything, yet outside of everything. This refers to Paramatma who is within, and outside of everything refers to Virat Roop. Now, Gopinath worship is not idol worship. I don't have the eyes to see Gopinath's spiritual form because I have imperfect senses. Therefore, devotees who want to see Gopinath with their material vision, they are favored by Gopinath. As he appears in this so-called material form to accept service from devotees, this material form is not material. This is actually Gopinath. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, it explains that Lord appearing in the Archa Vigraha form is the highest form of mercy. So we are mantras 4 to 8, we are trying to know how to know Ishvara. And mantras 4 and 5, we discussed that Ishvara is inconceivable to our normal intelligence. So mantras 6 to 8 now describe, well then, how to understand the contradictions and how to understand the Lord. Mantras 6 and 7 explain, first develop spiritual vision towards material things. By seeing events and material people with equanimity, we develop spiritual vision. When we can see the spiritual in the material, then we can go to the next step of being able to see spiritual beyond the material world. Mantra 6 is the vision of Mahabhagavat. There are 3 levels of devotees. Kanishta Adhikari, the lowest. Then next level up is Madhyam Adhikari and then Uttam Adhikari. Kanishta Adhikari does Gopinath worship. He chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra and he thinks that I have direct relationship with Krishna. And after going back from the temple, whatever I do does not matter. How I deal with others does not matter. One who sees material things alone is Kanishta. So Kanishta Adhikari has weak faith and weak scriptural knowledge. More importantly, Kanishta Adhikari does not have appreciation for devotee association. Next level up is Madhyam Adhikari, has 4 characteristics. One is he understands Krishna is object of my worship. Second, he has mercy for innocent. Third, he makes friendship with devotees. And fourth, he avoids atheists. Madhyam Adhikari understands I have a relationship with Krishna and that relation will be developed and revived by how I relate with others. Although Madhyam Adhikari's faith is very strong, still Madhyam Adhikari is not very knowledgeable in scriptures to be able to refute misconceptions of others based on scriptures, so as to present the scriptures effectively and to infuse Krishna consciousness in others. And the highest level is Uttamadhikari. Tama means darkness and Ut means beyond. So Uttamadhikari is beyond darkness. The characteristics of Uttamadhikari are: 1, he is pure, free from anarthas. 2nd, he is seriously engaged in Krishna's service. 3rd, he spreads Krishna consciousness. 4th, he is generally a guru. 5th, he serves his guru. 6th, he is offenseless. 7th, he does not criticize anyone. And more importantly, does not have inclination to criticize anyone. So there's no inclination to criticize is important. Let's say when we are, say, working at our workplace and we may have some disagreement or don't like what the boss is doing, but we may not criticize because we fear that I may have negative consequences. So I do have this criticizing nature or inclination, but I'm just not criticizing because of fear. But Uttamadhikari and spiritual masters they have no inclination to criticize. They only see the positive, the good. And the eighth characteristics is both faith and knowledge are very deep. So knowledge is not referring to intellectual knowledge alone, but knowledge is referring to applicational knowledge by which Uttamadhikari can transform people's hearts. Spiritual masters are generally at Uttamadhikari level or at least very advanced Madhyamadhikari. The word anupasyati is explained. Anu means to follow and pasyati means to observe. So anupasyati means one should not see things as he does with naked eyes. Rather, follow previous acharyas because I have imperfect senses. Mantra 7, theme is the consciousness of Mahabhagavat. The key term is ekatvam anupashyata, that one who sees oneness in quality through authority. Soul and God are one in quality, not in quantity. Example of qualitative sameness is salt in a drop of water is the same as in the whole ocean. So this is the oneness vision of Mahabhagavat. He sees everything as energy of the Lord. Last mantra number 8 for today. Theme is Krishna's qualities are known to Mahabhagavat. So mantra number 8, this vision is developed further and is directed to the Ishvara, which helps us understand him. So some of the points in mantra number 8, one point is he is without veins. In Bhagavad Gita 13.15 should be the verse. Prabhupada says, Sarvendriya Gunabhasham, Sarvendriya Vivarjitam. That what does it mean? He has no senses, no veins. This means Lord's body is not material. Lord has spiritual veins and spiritual senses. Then this mantra explains about unembodied. What does it mean? So I am a soul and I am embodied with material nature or material body, the material mind, the veins and senses. These are covering on top of my soul. Now, Lord's transcendental form is not embodied, meaning there is no difference between Lord's body and Lord's soul. Another point is omnipotent. What does it mean? That each and every part of Lord's body can do the work of other parts of the body. Example, Lord impregnated material nature simply by his glance. Every day when we offer bhoga to the Lord, Lord accepts, eats with his eyes. Lord can walk with his hands. Sometimes when we go take prasad, we also fill up our plates too much because we also try to imitate and eat with our eyes. But then we end up with so much left over because we were trying to eat with our eyes and we cannot finish everything. The most important part of mantra number 8 are the two qualities of the holy name. One is Shuddham, antiseptic. That he is antiseptic because even impure things become purified just by touching him. Example, how sun purifies even the stool. And the second quality of holy name is Apapa Viddham, that sin cannot touch him. An example is when I'm washing my hands, my dirty hands with soap, the soap does not get contaminated. This way, the holy name is Apapa Vittam. So we started Sri Isopanishad revision with the vision from which is from invocation mantra to mantra number 8. So invocation is the foundation of knowledge of Supreme Person. Mantras 1, 2, and 3 are the practices for living entities. Mantra 1, the theme is Ishavasha principle. Everything belongs to Lord. Everything must be used in service of the Lord. Mantra number 2 says living in harmony with the Ishavasha principle is beneficial. Mantra number 3 says living in disharmony with the Ishavasha principle is harmful. Mantras 4 and 5 is the knowledge of the Supreme Person. Mantra 4 says the Lord is known only when He reveals. Mantra 5 has contradictions which prove His inconceivable potencies. Mantra 6 to 8 is the knowledge and practices of spiritual vision. Mantra 6 explains the vision of Mahabhagavat. Mantra 7 is the consciousness of Mahabhagavat, that he sees everything as spiritual. And Mantra 8 is Krishna's qualities are known to Mahabhagavat. That's a quick summary of mantras 4 to 8, not as good as Pragya. You should all always try to please listen to Pragya's presentation, and for mantras 1, 2, and 3, please listen to Nitya's presentation. They are both much better presentations. Thank you all for listening. Any questions, comments, realizations?
Prabhuji, may I?
Mhm.
Prabhuji, just small questions. When we listen to Prabhupada's lectures, there are many places where he criticizes, he calls people fool, etc. So how do we see that? And the other thing is, how good or bad is self-criticism? Because you're never satisfied with whatever you're doing, especially your spiritual pursuits. You're never satisfied. You always feel that you didn't do it as you would have wanted to do it. So you're always self-critical to the extent it could be even demotivating types. So how do we see this criticism part, Prabhuji?
So in terms of the first point about Prabhupada chastising, understand that all those lectures Prabhupada is delivering directly to his disciples, direct disciples. So a spiritual master has the authority to chastise his disciples, not as some negative point, but to jolt the disciple out of misconceptions. Therefore, Prabhupada used strong words like rascal, and simultaneously, Prabhupada has said that we all cannot use these words. Prabhupada is different. Prabhupada is a pure devotee. We cannot use all these words. Those are only for Prabhupada. Now, spiritual master can chastise his disciple for correction. Even my spiritual master has corrected me. So he's not looking at negative points. No, his role is to correct me where I am wrong. That's his role. He has no intent of looking at negative points. My spiritual master's pranami mantra has the word anandina, means not look at negative points. That is his prime characteristics. So spiritual masters, you have to understand that when they are giving a lecture to their disciples, they are allowed to chastise, not as chastisement, but as tough love, that this is for your betterment. Pragya, does that help for the first part?
Ji Prabhuji, thank you.
In terms of self-criticism, it's not criticism, it's more about being able to see yourself. So we have discussed this at the start of Bhagavad Gita, that when you when you read Bhagavad Gita and all these scriptures with a rapt attention, as you have always been doing, it will shine a light on you. Oh, I am so dirty from inside. I have to cleanse myself. Unless you are able to see that you are dirty, how will you clean? So that seeing is not bad. It actually is good. Only then you will be able to cleanse yourself. So you don't have to get demotivated by seeing the bad things. Rather, you realize that how great Krishna and spiritual masters are, that even though I am so imperfect, that Krishna is allowing me to also be involved in his service. So right now, for example, Pragya, you today have done devotional service that Krishna has allowed you to, to talk about this spiritual topic. Now, without Krishna's mercy, this is impossible, right? So you use that that observation of yourself in a positive way to glorify Krishna. That Krishna is so great that I know my anarthas, that I am absolutely not qualified, but Krishna is using even such an unworthy instrument like me in his service. That way you remember Krishna. Pragya, everybody?
Ji Prabhuji, thank you. Actually, I found these mantras so difficult, Prabhuji. This was the most difficult presentation. It was long also. It was very difficult presentation. So I was just thinking, what is it? I just cannot do anything. So it was so difficult, Prabhuji. This particular thing, I had to really struggle these mantras. And Isopanishad is really very intense.
You are absolutely correct that Ishopanishad is a very difficult topic. Now, in terms of your difficulty, I will let the rest of the devotees repeat what they already say. How will you rate Pragya's today's presentation? Everybody?
Ten out of
10
10.
on 10, Prabhu.
Right? 10 out of 10. Right? So this difficulty is actually spiritual anxiety. This is actually required. So a couple years back when I was starting, I think it was batch 5, 4 or 5, one of the batch, where more than 60 devotees had signed up. And my spiritual master was in Toronto at the same time when I was about to start and all these devotees had signed up. So I went to my spiritual master. I said, Guru Maharaj, you have showered so much mercy that you have sent so many disciples, devotees, to join the classes. I am in anxiety. How am I going to do the classes? And Guru Maharaj chuckled and said, this is very nice. This is spiritual anxiety. This is Prabhupada's mercy. So this spiritual anxiety is good, right? And just visualize that because of that spiritual anxiety, not me, but devotees are saying your presentation is having 10 out of 10 marks. Pragya, everybody.
Prabhu, I would also like to share that as I was listening and my thoughts, I said, Pragya Mataji is going to start the major presentation in 2 weeks. And I said, you set a bar so high. I said to myself, I have to work harder.
Very good. And you are absolutely correct. I already messaged this to Pragya, set the bar very high. So the next presentation of Pragya is the first bigger presentation is by Pragya, where you will realize that Pragya is going to set the bar really, really high with a presentation. So far you are saying Pragya has set the bar very high. Well, just wait till our bigger presentation comes up and you will already see, oh, wow, that's going to be a wow factor. Thank you for sharing it there.
Prabhuji, I'm super nervous now, and I am really just hope Krishna Bhagwan allows me to do that presentation. So
Very good. Very good. Always depend on Krishna. Very good. So let's quickly read. We will read mantra 1 purport, and rest of the mantras we will only read the translations. We will only have time to do that much reading. So everybody please read quickly and mark the paragraphs as 1 to 3. Archana, if you want to recite mantra 1 in Sanskrit and read the translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena vyattena bhujanta ma gatah kasya swid dhanam. Translation: everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for him, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Vimal Prabhu, purport mantra 1, read 5 paragraphs to the bottom of page 19. My book is 19.
Vedic knowledge is infallible because it comes down through the perfect disciple succession of spiritual master, beginning with the Lord himself. Since he spoke the first word of Vedic knowledge, the source of this knowledge is transcendental. The words spoken by Lord are called apsaras, which indicates that they are not delivered by any mundane person. A living being who lives in the mundane world has 4 defects. 1. He is certain to commit mistakes. 2. He is subjected to illusion. 3. He has a prosperity to cheat others. And 4. His senses are imperfect. No one with these 4 imperfections can deliver perfect knowledge. The Vedas are not produced by such an imperfect creature. Vedic knowledge was originally imparted by the Lord into the heart of Brahma, the first created living being. And Brahma in his turn disseminated this knowledge to his son and disciples who have handed it down through history. Since the Lord is Puranam, all perfect, there is no possibility of his being subjected to the laws of material nature, which he controls. However, both the living entities and inanimate objects are controlled by the law of nature and ultimately by the Lord's potency. The Isopanishad is part of the Yajurveda, and consequently, it contains information concerning the proprietorship of all things existing within the universe. The Lord proprietorships over everything within the universe is confirmed in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where para and apara prakriti are discussed. The elements of nature, earth, water, fire, air, either mind, intelligence, and ego, all belongs to the Lord in inferior material energies, where the living beings, the organic energy is his superior energy, para prakriti. Both of these prakritis or energies are emanations from the Lord, and ultimately he is the controller of everything that exists. There is nothing in the universe that does not belong to either the para or the apara prakriti. Therefore, everything is the property of the supreme being. Because the supreme being is the absolute personality of Godhead is the complete person. He has complete the perfect intelligence to adjust everything by means of his different potencies. The supreme being is often compared to a fire, and everything organic and inorganic is compared to the heat and light of that fire. Just as the fire distributes energy in the form of heat and light, the Lord displays his energy in different ways. He thus remains the ultimate controller, sustainer, and director of everything. He is a possessor of all potencies, the knower of everything, and the benefactor of everyone. He is full of inconceivable opulences, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciations. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is a proprietor of everything. One should accept only those things that are set aside by the Lord as his quota. The cow, for instance, gives milk, but she does not drink that milk. She eats grass and straws, and her milk is designated as a food for human beings. Such is a arrangement of the Lord. Thus, we should be satisfied with those things He has kindly set aside for us, and we should always consider to whom those things we possess actually belongs. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Nitya, bottom of page 19, paragraph 6, 7, 8, and 9 to bottom of page 21.
Take, for example, our dwelling house, which is made of earth, wood, stone, iron, cement, and so many other material things. If we think in terms of Sri Isopanishad, then we must know that we cannot produce any of the above mentioned building materials ourselves. We can simply bring them together and transform them into different shapes by our labor. A laborer might claim to be the proprietor of a thing just because he has worked hard to manufacture it. There is always this great quarrel between the laborers and the capitalists in the present day society. The quarrel has now taken an international shape, and the world is in danger. Men face each other in enmity just like cats and dogs now. Sri Isopanishad cannot give advice to the cats and dogs, but it delivers the message of Godhead to man through the bona fide acharyas of holy teachers. And the human race, they take this Vedic wisdom from Sri Isopanishad, that no one should quarrel over material possessions. One must be satisfied by whatever privileges are given to him by the mercy of the Lord. There can be no peace if the communist or the capitalist or any other party claims to be proprietor of the resources of nature, which are entirely the property of the Lord. The capitalist cannot curb down the communist simply by the political maneuvering, nor can the communist defeat the capitalist simply by fighting for the stolen right. If they do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then all the property which they claim to be their own is stolen, and therefore they shall be liable to punishment by the laws of nature. The bomb is in the hands of both the communists and the capitalists, and if both do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord, it is sure and certain that ultimately the bomb will ruin both parties. Therefore, in order to save themselves, both must follow the instructions of the Isopanishad and thus bring peace to the world. Human beings are not meant for quarreling like cats and dogs. They must be intelligent enough to realize the importance of human life and to realize the aim of human life. The Vedic literature is meant for humanity and not for the cats and dogs. Cats and dogs can kill other animals for food, and for that there is no question of sin on their part. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste buds, he is responsible for breaking the laws of nature, and therefore he must be punished.
Chandran Prabhu, from the paragraph, the standard of life for human beings to end of mantra 1.
Hare Krishna. The standard of life for human beings cannot be applied to animals. The tiger does not eat rice and wheat or drink cow's milk because he has been given food in the shape of animal flesh. Among the many animals and birds, some are vegetarian and others are carnivorous, but none of them transgress the laws of nature, which have been ordained by the will of the Lord. Animals, birds, reptiles, and other low life forms strictly adhere to the laws of nature. Therefore, there is no question of sin for them. nor are the Vedic instructions meant for them. Human life alone is a life of responsibility. It is wrong, however, to think that simply by becoming a vegetarian, one can avoid transgressing the laws of nature. Vegetables also have life, and while it is nature's law that one living being is meant to feed on another, for human beings, the point is to recognize the Supreme Lord. Thus, one should not be proud of being a strict vegetarian. Animals do not have developed consciousness by which to recognize the Lord, but a human being is sufficiently intelligent to take lessons from the Vedic literature and thereby know how the laws of nature are working and derive profit out of such knowledge. If a man neglects the instructions of the Vedic literature, his life becomes very risky. A human being is therefore required to recognize the authority of the Supreme Lord and become his devotee. He must offer everything for the Lord's service and partake only of the remnants of food offered to the Lord. This will enable him to discharge his duty properly in the Bhagavad Gita 9.26. The Lord directly states that he accepts vegetarian food from the hands of a pure devotee. Therefore, a human being should not only become a strict vegetarian, but should also become a devotee of the Lord. Offer the Lord all his food and then partake of such prasadam, or the mercy of God. Only those who act in this way can properly discharge the duties of human life. Those who do not offer their food to the Lord eat nothing but sin and subject themselves to various types of distress, which are the results of sin. Bhagavad Gita 3.13 says, the root of sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. Disobeying the laws of nature or the order of the Lord brings ruin to a human being. Conversely, one who is sober, who knows the laws of nature, and who is not influenced by unnecessary attachment or aversion is sure to be recognized by the Lord and thus become eligible to go back to Godhead, back to the eternal hope. Hare Krishna.
Very good. So for mantras 2 to 8, we will only read translations. Matan, mantras 2, 3, 4, 5 translations.
Hare Krishna. Mantra 2. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for a man. Mantra 3. Translation. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the world of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. Mantra 4. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of God is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain, he surpasses all in excellence. Mantra 5. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. Mantra 6.
Pragya, mantra 6, 7, 8 translations.
Hare Krishna. Mantra 6. He who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. Mantra 7. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? Mantra 8. Such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. Hare Krishna.
Very good. So I have on the screen the schedule that next week we'll finish Sri Isopanishad revision with mantras 9 to 18. And then from 24th May, the following week, we'll have the bigger presentations. So some of you need to get this, realize that this is a priority. You are still not understanding the priority. So take this as a priority and connect with me for your respective presentations, even if they are in the draft state. We are just past 9 a.m. Toronto time. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Krishna, thank you, Prabhuji.